Very good morning. Welcome to 91.3 Capital FM. It's the Capital Gang, your ultimate weekend social political talk show. My name is Simon Kasiate, standing in for the Africa. Well, on the program today, Oscar's presence notwithstanding, we proceed. In the studio, two regular gangsters already seated and taken their positions, gladly or otherwise, all from the same political dispensation. All of them members of parliament. One of them a returned member of parliament. Another finally successful into the August House after several tries. And the glee and the smile on her face is something to kill for. In no particular order, allow me go with the order of ladies first. Welcome to the program, Lydia Wanyoto Mutendem, Honorable Member of Parliament elect for Mbale. Is it municipality or city?
Mbale City.
Ah, very good.
Yes.
Welcome to the program. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you this year on the program. Happy to see you.
Thank you so much, Simon, and congratulations for sitting in the Oscar's chair. I also want to congratulate Katesh. We've been speaking. We met before, but also on phone you called me to congratulate you again for having been re-elected to serve in the 12th Parliament. You are folding your sleeves, am I safe? Good morning, Dr. Professor Serunkuma. I bring you greetings from Mbale City. I've just come from there. And just to say, yes, thank you for congratulating me. It was many years of attempts, but finally I'm happy that I'm joining the 12th Parliament. But also the people of Mbale have been urging me to provide leadership to the 12th Parliament. And yesterday, I gladly said yes. I'll be presenting my papers and my credentials and my call of interest to serve as the Speaker of the 12th Parliament. Thank you.
Like the Jamaicans say, big things are going. First time into the August House, and now you are not taking anything less than the front seat, and not just any front seat as a cabinet member or anything, but the ideal.
It is the first business of the House.
Tremendous.
And I'm lucky to have one of the voters on my right. And it's a secret ballot.
No, I'm a proud boy.
On my right.
On your right. I missed that. I thought.
And being a secret ballot.
Don't worry, Honorable Lydia Wanyoto. Yusuf Serunkuma suffers from what we call main character syndrome. He believes everything should be around him and about him. But that said, Yusuf, that said, allow me welcome the Honorable Member of Parliament elected for yet another time of Shema Municipality, yet to become a city perhaps, Honorable Dixon Kateshumba. Welcome to the program once again.
Forgot to add the OB of Ntale School.
Oh, that's very important. Not just an OB, but my head prefect at the time he left.
Thank you very much.
So leadership comes a long way.
And just to tell you that the whole of Shema is now Ntale led.
Oh, wow.
Good morning, listeners, and thank you. Happy to be back at the gang. And once again, congratulations to my sister Lydia for being elected. The other mission which she has, I wish her good luck. And also good to see
Thank you.
Dr. Yusuf. I've been reading his articles. They are very provocative sometimes, but
very honest.
Yeah?
Very honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have read some of your articles, and good to see you here. Some of them are insightful, others are provocative, and yeah.
Yusuf continues.
It's difficult how to respond to a good reader.
Yeah?
When a good reader says negative things about your article.
No, I'm saying they are very interesting, but I'm not surprised. I think you've been consistent, but that's a different. It's a debate for another day. I'm happy to see you.
Yeah, as Yusuf suffers from something I have suffered from quite a bit, having to answer the perennial question that looks so obvious and in some circumstances even outrightly foolish. Someone meets you, like you, and they say, so Mr. Kasiate, where are you now? So Yusuf, I am tempted to ask you the same question I'm sick and tired of answering myself. Yusuf Serunkuma, where are you now?
I'm here with you.
think that's exactly the answer I give whoever asks me that question. But welcome to the program. Usually I would say Yusuf Serunkuma, an academic from Makerere University, Kampala. Then I read reports where Makerere University was raising questions as to whether or not you don't belong there. And hence the question, where are you practicing your academia from? If you don't mind, you may wish to shed some light. I could be behind the news, and it would be nice to educate me.
Simon, that you're trying to raise a scandal where it's non-existent. If you read reports about Makerere, you should have read everything that is being said. Okay, you don't just read Makerere and stop. Everything was written. It had to be read. So I'll not answer that question. But you can proudly say,
please be guided.
I'm a researcher based at Makerere University. I'm a columnist with the Observer newspaper, and I'm happy that I have some of my readers here. They said my column is provocative, which is a nice thing to say, to hear about a reader. But also he said quite gladly that they're insightful, which is a wonderful thing to hear from an MP who is not like a small reader, is a big drum who is going to be legislating for this country.
Yusuf, I want us to be guided by...
I wanted to say one thing about what John Nagenda used to say, that if you write a column in a national newspaper, why do you need to go to Parliament?
But he wasn't referring to a newspaper the size of the Observer. Please, let's be guided by context. There is a national newspaper like the one Nagenda was writing for.
What's your rating of the Observer?
What's your rating? No, I need to be guided. I'm just here to just rubber rouse and be guided, because frankly speaking, there are some little frequencies you bump in when you are in small little towns and nooks and corners of this country, and you can't comfortably say when you are a panelist on a weekend program on those little radio stations and compare yourself to the ultimate Capital Gang. So sometimes some of these things need to be put in context. I mean, there is the Capital Gang of Capital FM, and then there's small other things, and there's the newspaper Nagenda used to write for, and then there is the Observer. Let's be honest, are they at the same standing? That said, there are news reports coming in this week of another newspaper that faces closure, and some have actually said that is fake news. So questions abound as to the future of journalism. Now that you brought up this whole thing, we can start from there, Yusuf, and tell us from your research perspective, what's happening? Is AI killing everything, including and not limited to journalism?
You want me to respond to that?
Yeah, I'll be glad.
I don't know what to say. I didn't plan to speak about journalism and media today, Simon. Maybe let's return to the topic of today,
which is
the thing that the producer shared with us.
Yusuf, that's the thing. When you have me on this other side of the chair, there is always the risk of a spanner being thrown in the works. But that said, banter aside, let's start the program officially now, folks. We're coming to close of a week where something very interesting has happened in the city. I think if you managed to drive through some parts of the city that were previously were unable to be accessed, you will realize that there's a bit of more order, less of what we usually used to see in the city as a spectacle or as a usual. Hawkers, vendors all over the place, and this is as a result of an enforcement regime carried out by the Capital City Authority together with the political leadership of Kampala, Capital City, and the greater metropolitan area. And there is quite a bit of cry and hue on either side of how you look at this. Some argue this is long overdue. We need a city that is up to the name and up to the task of being called a city. Others argue that when you chase away folks that are in the city trying to eke a living from as small activities as hawking and vending, then you risk throwing this city in an abyss of anarchy where crime will go unabated, because these folks will have no other way of eking a decent living and they will resort to anarchy. Yet the Capital City Authority is saying we are reducing congestion and promoting smooth traffic flow. We are ensuring business operates in designated areas. We are protecting consumers from counterfeit or unsafe goods. We are supporting formal businesses by creating a fair trading environment. We are enhancing the city's aesthetic appeal and tourism potential, etc., etc. I'll start with you, Katesh. You just come from an election, a general election, where one of the major tenets of this election, at least from the camp of the NRM, was getting everybody, without exception, into the market economy.
Yes.
Urban poor dwellers, allowing them to trade, to carry out activities that give them a decent and dignified living. And as soon as you get your 71 point something % of the vote, at least as announced by the Electoral Commission, now you're going down and clamping down on the very support base that you possibly were relying on for this win. Doesn't that feel like too early to disappoint and possibly throw your own supporters literally under the NRM bus?
Well, I don't think that the way you are putting it, it is as if the NRM, after winning elections, sat and said, okay, now this is the time for us to enforce trade order in the city. I do not think this activity just came immediately after election, but it's something that has been on the cards for a long time. The city has been in a mess, and we all need to know that Kampala city is the face of Uganda. Everybody who comes to visit Uganda probably comes into the city, and so the enforcement that is taking place by KCCA has got its objectives, and we should be able to discuss the objectives on their own merit and also discuss the way the objectives are enforced or achieved. First of all, there are justifiable reasons why the city authority is taking action. You know that the city is for everybody. So if you do walkways, you pave them for the pedestrians to move from one street to the other. The purpose of those walkways is to enable people to move. And so if someone else takes them over for other purposes, then you are distorting the order in the city. So, and everybody is an interested party in the city. Number two.
Right over there, Honorable.
Yes.
Proceed. Let's close our eyes and look at this particular street I'm going to give as an example. Parliamentary Avenue. There are pedestrian walkways there. In the last 5 or so years, no pedestrians have been able to walk because you, the very important members of parliament, who are now telling us that the city is for everyone, decided to cordon them off.
That's
and
not.
Wait a minute. And in a place that's around parliamentary.
I walk there myself.
Honorable Katesh.
So please don't mix it.
Honorable Katesh, let me bring up to you. Please be guided that the person speaking to you.
And I know you had the benefit of.
Served as Deputy Director, Kampala Capital City Authority, in charge of public affairs and communication. Then, if you go to other streets around the same parliamentary building where the pedestrian walkways have not been cordoned off for security, your cars, when you are in sitting, are parked on pedestrian walkways, denying pedestrians the ability to walk. You obstruct
my car is
non-vehicular. No, I'm not saying you as Honorable Katesh. I know you are law-abiding, you are decent and all that, unlike the majority of some of your friends, especially those who have got lead cars. So while we say that vendors, hawkers must respect some aesthetic presentations of the city, like pedestrian walkways, and not throw their merchandise on those places to trade, what's good for the goose should be good for the gander. And one would even expect that leaders like parliamentarians should lead by example.
I think, Simon, you asked me the first question, and I was trying to explain. And I have just given one example. You've taken me off tangent into the Parliamentary Avenue, which where there has not been any hawker evicted, where people walk, and you are giving examples of perhaps 1 or 2 occurrences where perhaps there is a security. And you know, there was a bombing on that street. And since that time, the security around that street, you know, it has never been the same. So we cannot give it as an example to justify why the city should remain in a mess. So the explanation I was giving you is that the city has got very many stakeholders. There are people who have buildings in the city. They have tenants who pay rent to the tenants who pay rent to the landlords. And they have shops. They sit inside the shop, but someone outside who has no rent is selling the same products inside that are inside the shop. So how do you expect? And you know,
at the lower price.
At the lower price, perhaps is not compliant. They will not issue a receipt, but someone inside the shop is registered with URA, is registered with KCCA. He pays the landlords. So how do you expect justice for this person that you are actually taxing while his business opportunity is taken away by people outside? So that's why I'm saying that we must look at this thing on its own merit. So the issue of creating a trade balance, fairness, making sure that everybody is able to survive in the city. There are markets which have been made, built, to allow these small traders to go in. They are empty.
Government markets.
Yes, they are empty. So the question should be, why are they empty? Is it that people don't want to go there? Did we build them by mistake? Did we sensitize the people? And there's another issue that came up from KCCA's explanation, the issue of counterfeit. You know, if you go you meet someone on the street and you buy something and you take it home and you find it's not working, you have no address to go to and complain. So for me, KCCA is right to enforce and create trade order. The only issue we should request is that this must be done in a very humane way, and there should be alternatives for these people. And people should not be defiant to think that the others who own buildings and who are traders in the city do not matter. Everybody must survive. So the question of enforcement, we should not politicize it, and I hope that there will be no politics, and KCCA should be able to be very, very transparent in this process. There are some videos which I saw, someone on the garbage truck being, beaten. They should not, if they take people's goods, there should be a process of registering them and being able to hand them over to them if they have been confiscated, so that it is carried out in a very humane way and people don't have losses. But people should be asked to comply, so that everybody survives in the city. You cannot come and create a market in the middle of a tarmac and then you say, it's my right. There are other users who need to access the city, who need to go and be able to survive in the city.
Lydia, having heard what Honorable Katesh has put across, and in light of the explanation of the Kampala Capital City Authority, and looking at you as a newly elected member of parliament over a city which many years ago was touted as East Africa's cleanest city, but by the look of things, if we continue the same trajectory we're at today, you will find yourself faced with the same situation that Kampala Capital City faces. The presence of lack of trade order, over congestion that is unregulated, and things of that nature. Is what Kampala Capital City Authority doing in the spirit of equitable conduct of everyone across the city? Two, Katesh did, and this is the final one with regard to that, which I thought you would wrap up as one, did say he hopes there won't be political interference in this process. And we know and have witnessed this over several cycles previously, where an enforcement such as this comes to play, not only for hawkers, we've seen it around borders, we've seen it around taxis and other commuter means of transport, and their leadership finds a way of getting audience with your party president, who doubles now as the newly elected president of the Republic of Uganda, who then, out of whim and political expedience, overturns that enforcement and we go back to business as usual. Doesn't that sometimes appear like sometimes the NRM does good and washes very nice laundry, and after that, when it's all clean, they lay it out on a mud floor to dry?
I heard Honorable Katesh saying that the matter should not be politicized. I want to agree with him. But when the leadership of KCCA was announcing and giving 2 weeks, they said, we waited until after elections. I found that a very strange statement.
They don't have a very...
So I don't know whether you were following that. Because the moment you mentioned that, and you say we are giving you 2 weeks to evacuate, and we are doing now because we waited to do it after elections. The city should run normally with this enforcement, because the people that run the city are not politicians, they're not in elective politics. So I thought that they were caught off tongue.
No, the comms person
they shouldn't have said that, because then that shows that what was at the back of their mind. You stay and maybe vote, then after that we shall deal with you or something. And when Honorable Kate said it should not be politicized, I think they were caught off tongue, because they sounded politicized by the message of getting them off the street. For me, I come from Mbale City, and by the grace of God now I'm a member of Parliament for the 12th Parliament for Mbale City. And garbage and waste management is a very big issue on the table, because this is a city, it's an urban place. Littering, garbage collection, we have markets, we have hotels, we have garage. All these are centers that have a lot of garbage. Interesting, of course, even Shema municipality is an urban place. I've been to Shema. Yes. It's actually almost getting to stay status, because it's really expanded. I was there recently.
We won't hear the last of it.
Shema. So the point I'm trying to put is that it should be an ongoing emergency issue, because it's so connected to health, to the well-being of the people, to sanitation, that it should not be interfered with any other projects or programs. And they should even be more organized towards the rain season, because remember that when you have people on the verandas and then it is raining, it is not correct to not have. So what has been happening is that maybe if they had prepared alternative marketing areas, for example, gazetted places, then you tell people that leave this road or this square in the city and go here, place X to place Y. But when you begin doing evictions on the market vendors, or on the roadside people, without a ready alternative, I think that's where the resistance comes from, because I've been hearing people saying, you are telling us not to turn up within 2 weeks, where do you want us to go? So I think you should go like to an evening market industry along the road and say, you are so and so, you are Lydia Wanyoto, you have been selling cooked food here, or you are frying chicken and chips here. Tomorrow, within these 2 weeks, come and relocate to this area, this shade, and this is your gazetted lockup or your gazetted shade. So I've not heard them, even in the statement of the leadership of the KCCA, I didn't hear them specify locations of where these people are going, because to tell them not to come, they will not leave these streets. The reason why they are in the streets, on verandas and on walkways and in drainage areas to sell whatever they are cancelling is for survival. It's not a one-off, it's for survival. If somebody is hungry and the only way he's going to bring Kavera home in the evening is to sell on the roadside, you must find an alternative for them. And then you can also now run a campaign to direct people where to find them, because they also have their customers. To say, this street in the city, your people are now in this area, there is a shade. So that the borders can also relocate, because that's the commonest transport in the city for that category of the community, and they are the majority. Nobody should lie you. The upclass Simon Kashates of Kampala are few. They live in Kololo, in Bugolobi, but the majority that makes the 3 million during the day or 2 million in the night for Kampala city, they are the real owners of the city. So we have no choice but to provide alternative marketing spaces for them. I heard some of them mentioning. I had some. You are in the city council. City authority. You should tell us. But I heard some of the debates. They were saying that there are stalls in these public market areas, the ones that were built by government, but that people don't want to go there. They prefer to waylay customers on the streets. I don't know how true that is.
Well,
but if we insist
and witness a new market built, and the vendors chose that it is more appropriate to be outside the market as opposed to being inside, because, to use their term, business.
So, but if you enforce them to go inside the shelters of the market, and there's a serious customer, they will have no choice but to. It's also enforcement and discipline. It's a very important matter. But I would be happy to hear that there are enough selling spaces in constructed spaces of markets where the people we are telling to move from the street are going. Because it's also a challenge for management of the city, especially like shops and malls that are paying rent. If you are paying rent and then somebody comes and selling in front, will you ever also balance your own books? Because now the goods are on the veranda, for you cannot sell yours, and then yours, at the end of the month, whatever it is, you're supposed to pay rent.
Story is told that shop owners also participate in hawking outside the veranda because they have learned that is also the other way.
It's because of the pressure of the hawkers and the veranda users. But I think the word is that we want order. There must be order, and if it's so selective, if it is for all and without any preference of anybody, I think there will be order, and we want order in the city, because if there is order in the city, then you have a beautiful city that you can manage in terms even of garbage management, traffic. There's a lot of traffic jam, but part of the traffic jam creation is those night road markets that are blocking, and even they actually block walkways, but also sanitation issues, because we've not planned for their sanitation on the street. So where do they go to the toilets? And when it's raining, how does the drainage move? Because sometimes when they come and line up with their goods, mostly fresh food, there's a lot of waste that is left there.
Yes. I'll turn to you, Yusuf, and broaden it from just hawkers and vendors, and happen what Lydia and Katesh just really did say, that enforcement should be applied across board. There shouldn't be holy cows and unholy cows. And they talk about the city being for everybody, and that everyone should be, treated the same way under the law. As a researcher, as an academician, as someone who's lived in this city, does that sound true, or does it sound like the reality on the ground, especially for folks like these who have been here for some time? Or are they also just saying, let's not politicize the issue, but they are in themselves putting across some kind of political explanation to sometimes, for the most part, shield their own contribution to the mess that Kampala is? Talk about traffic congestion, for example. Learning discipline is largely fomented by very important persons who include and not limited members of parliament, cabinet members, and everybody that can afford a siren car. Let's talk about parking in ungazetted places and blocking pedestrian walkways. I just gave an example, but Honorable Katesh felt that is taking him off on a tangent. I'll turn it to you, Yusuf. Maybe for you, you are the kind of rabble-rouser that they will listen to.
No, I don't do the business of rabble-rousing, but there's an image that occurred to me. I've been thinking about this when I listened to Honorable Wanjoto speak about the conflict between people who are renting. I think even Honorable Katesh spoke about that. People who are renting in malls, and the vendors standing in front of them. They're paying rent, they're registered URA, they're paying taxes, but they're not getting customers. And it struck me quite powerfully. You have heard about ministers and duplicate offices in State House. And I think Katesh asked, when do these people who own shops in malls, when do they work? And some question be asked, when do ministers work? because, they are alternative, they are duplicates. They are hawkers who are doing the same job as they are doing inside State House and the ministries of Kampala. When do they work?
Can you look at the person and say, the point is this debate? You've really taken it too political.
We are not discussing minister.
And I'll show you there are two things which are running alongside each other here. One is decongesting the city, which is having a clean city, and the other is getting people who actually have shops and stalls get their fair due. That they get unfair competition from people selling fake things or people selling actually legitimate goods without proper stalls. So this are happening alongside, and this is not very new. This story, the question of decongesting the city, the former KCZ executive director Geneva, that's where she started, cleaning Kampala, creating all these fancy lanes and creating one ways and that's where she started. And among other things, she wanted to get border borders.
Errant pedestrians who are just crossing over the green.
Yeah, she wanted to get border borders and street vendors off those streets. Reorganized borders, right? And I remember famously the border problem, she fell in trouble with Yoram Museveni himself. It's very interesting. But I wanted to tell you that we are living the ruins of our embrace of neoliberalism. That among the things that happened is that we created rural poverty. There's so much pressure on Kampala, incredible amounts of pressure on Kampala. I don't know if studies are still being done to show the intensity of rural-urban migration. I don't know if there are studies being done. So the pressure we have on the city is the enormity of people coming to the city to find an existence, to eke a living. As Lydia said, they're the majority. They're trying to eke an existence. And these are people who have just left the countryside. Because in the countryside, people are poor. There's no money. And this we killed all those things that were profitable in the countryside. You remember farming used to be very profitable. Whatever you did used to be super profitable. But what happened is that, we killed extension services, we killed cooperatives. So farmers in the countries that are not really profitable, people are selling those small plots to come buy a border and start, living the promise of modern Kampala. They're selling a piece of land in the countryside which used to be used for farming to come and open and start hawking goods in the streets of Kampala. So there's so much pressure on the city, but all this pressure comes from a place that we know. We created ruins in the countryside which employed other people. You see, and the problem with Uganda is that we are so obsessed with treating the symptoms and not the root causes. We are now focused on the symptoms. And from the time of Geneva to today, we're still dealing with the same problem. I'm telling you, it's not the Sharifa Buzeki KCC is not going to solve this problem because we are simply focused on the symptoms. And I don't understand Kampalans. Elias Lukwago endlessly insisted on the Kampala Grand Master Plan, which had all those things figured out. But you can't just wake up one day and say, we're doing this road, we're taking care of this wetland, we're taking care of this. There's a grand master plan that people, the technical wing of Kampala refused to attend to. And this, somehow, Kampalans got convinced that Lukwago was the problem. But if you look at decongesting the city, Simon, if you have a city which doesn't have a public transport system, zero public transport system, and you're saying you're decongesting the city, because you see what a public transport system does is that people start to live in distant areas because it's easier to access other things within the city. So even the vendors don't have to fight to be in the city center. They can hawk their businesses quite profitably in Matuga, in Bombo, without coming to the city. This is why we talk about Kampala as having an urban and rather a night and day population. That people come all the way from Bombo to hawk merchandise in Kampala and have to go back because we have failed to think through the grand master plan, which includes things like just markets, wetlands, transport network. And the more we obsess with treating just the symptoms, I think we're in the same dilemma. But to go back to the earlier point that I made about the ministers not working because they are hawkers in State House who are doing duplicate work, You need to look at this in a spectrum to understand the point I'm making. Simon, you go to Parliament. Parliament is a congested place. So if you're saying you're cleaning vendors from Owino and Nakasero, you need to clean Parliament too. It's a very congested place. It doesn't look good. Katesh spoke about the aesthetics of Kampala. You talk about the aesthetics of Parliament. Look at our entire political establishment. Everything is congested. We are living the era of the reigns of neoliberalism that we have made Kampala city the center of our livelihood. So we have decided to decongest everything, rather to congest everything, from RDCs to ministers to members of parliament to you look at those things, all those things look ugly aesthetically. They are all congested. They are a pain on the taxpayer. Right, so we need to take that into consideration. We are so obsessed with treating the symptoms. The actual diagnosis is that you need to go back into the embrace of neoliberalism, where we killed everything that created space for other people to thrive elsewhere. You look at our schools, for example. Our schools are all in Kampala. The best schools struggle to be located in the city center. Industries struggle to be located in the city center. People are building processing plants in the city center. Why is that? Why is that? And this contributes to the congestion. I'll finish on the small point, which I picked from Kateshi, where he said that, people sell counterfeit goods, get to sell counterfeit. There are some of these hawkers, and when they sell you counterfeit, you are unable to have an address. Where do you go when you've bought counterfeit? Because they don't have a shop. And again, you are looking at the symptom. The question should be, how did counterfeit get into the country? How did counterfeit get produced onto the Ugandan market? We have the Bureau of Standards. What are they doing? How did counterfeit get onto the streets? So for you to query the hawker that they are selling counterfeit on the streets of Kampala, how did counterfeit get into the country, for example? I am lucky, unless friends here, that I actually do research downtown. A businessman said to me one time that you see these sandals that we buy on the streets, especially women's sandals, that break in 2 days or 1 day. That as soon as you reach home and you try it on, it's already broken, right? He said a very connected fellow, and Kateshia used to work with URA, I'm sure he knows this. A very connected fellow fits so many containers of those things from China, enters them into the country. They are clearly counterfeit. They are below standard to enter anywhere in the country, right? They are like rubbish from China. But once you reach the National Bureau of Standards, you just say, I have about 1 billion. If I'm selling them at 6,000, 5,000, I have over 1 billion. Why don't you take 200 million and you let them enter? You see, you do the same to your person. Like, when you see those small things,
I will appreciate. I'm sorry to just interject.
I'm talking from
there's a lady called Violet here who doesn't like me interjecting on you people, but you can't come here and make some of this unsubstantiated
research.
Violet, a man like
you're talking to a scholar
who is here telling, okay, when you say you're a scholar, fair enough, and that's why you're on the program. Can you substantiate these claims?
No, but,
tell us that businessman X has done this, and substantiate.
No, it's not fair. I can't.
Simon,
let me stop you there, right there.
Point to him and say,
please.
This is what happened. Like,
please.
Do not make allegations.
Simon. We don't do scholarship like that.
You see why
Simon, you're not teaching me scholarship.
No, I'm saying on the program, you don't come here to make unsubstantiated claims.
Simon, please.
People hold you to serious account when you come here to speak. You are an authority.
Yes,
like an academician,
and
you must quote authorities.
Yeah, but why do you interfere with the authority? Let the authority speak.
But then when you are lying, please, you must understand that I'm a moderator here, not as a bimbo. I put you to task. Substantiate your claim. You can't come here and blanketly say a businessman has...
but you don't know what I'm talking about. If I'm lying, do you know the truth?
No, Simon. He said he's a researcher. He does research.
I said as a researcher.
Where is the paper that you've done?
Okay.
Yeah, because
But I can't have you on this show with papers that are published on the thing. I can't show up here on papers that are published.
This gentleman is a full-time 24-hour critic, and when you start and be everywhere.
Was my time up? I was winding up.
Because you see, Simon,
can I be allowed
you are
to wind
choosing
up?
UNBS. You are pointing to a businessman whom you are quoting the process and saying UNBS is paid and they let goods in, and then you are allowed to say that.
Can I be allowed to?
No, but Simon is asking if you are the scholar, scholars come with evidence, and you've done research. Don't just choose a government entity here.
So let me tell you, I am two things. I am a journalist in the first place, and a scholar. Now, what we do in scholarship, we don't carry names of people when we are citing supposedly sensitive things. We don't do that. We anonymize, and I think that would be a difficult terminology for you. But we anonymize. But let me finish this point.
People might say
when you mentioned
you might be a counterfeit scholar also.
It's an institution. Okay,
That is the name of an
I'm happy to take the, yes, an institution. It's a public institution.
Please, Yusuf, you're speaking to an award-winning journalist as well. So don't tell me about scholarship with 3 degrees.
Don't be a counterfeit scholar.
Don't be a counterfeit scholar. And
we are talking about counterfeit.
Refer to the first question I asked you. Where are you?
Simon, you need to be fair to your guests.
Now in the studio.
And listen to and be happy to listen to their craft, because you don't belong to that craft. The point I'm making, Kateshi speaks about counterfeits in the country.
Yes.
And which body is meant to deal with counterfeit? Exactly, and that's what I'm problematizing. I'm telling you, this body, if you pick issue with a vendor who is selling counterfeit in the country, you're treating the symptom.
65% of the products which are suspected to be counterfeit are actually made here.
Exactly.
You are talking,
but again,
I
was building a big point.
Let's discuss. Don't I choose entities without discussing the real thing.
Katesh, you didn't listen very carefully when you spoke. So, there are 2 things we sell in this country: imports and imports and things which are manufactured here. And the body which is responsible for making sure the standards of those goods are to standard is the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. Now, if we are holding the vendor responsible for selling counterfeit, and we're saying this vendor has to be kicked off because he will be selling counterfeit and he doesn't have an address, why don't you go with the institution which is meant to ensure that the goods sold on the market are actually to standard? Why don't you do that? That's the point that we need to stick on. Even if the goods are produced locally, as you said, 65% are produced locally, there's a body which is meant to be holding producers here responsible, but we're not. So I wanted to give you stories from the people involved in actually selling these things. UNBS, this is what they tell us. You can go and do your research. This is a media house. You can also have journalists to go research what I'm saying. They tell us containers come with thousands of those little things or so. They break in a day. And how do they get into the country? Because all these are Chinese products. How do they get into the country? They get into the country through the same Bureau of Standards. And when they get here, they're sold on the market. So the vendors will tell you how they negotiate the process of getting them onto the store of Kampala. Right? And that's the story I've told you. So if you think the story is fake, you can go and investigate.
No, it's okay, Yusuf. The same way someone can come here and claim that if fake goods are coming to the country, so could be fake academicians graduating from academic institutions, same could be people with fake degrees and fake credentials.
What is your point? Yeah. Still Makere should be responsible for its degrees.
Absolutely, and maybe even those who claim to be. Abdul Katuntu, welcome to the program. It's been nice. I haven't seen you this whole year. You found us in the middle of a conversation around trade order in the city and the new enforcement by KCCA to rid the city of vendors, hawkers, and all those characters that were making our city look closer to a sty than a capital city. Questions abound. This is not the first time KCCA is doing such a cleanup, but what has happened in the past? Why do they carry out such cleanups? And before long, we return to normal programming. What usually makes us unable to sustain operations such as this, in your view, and what can be done to ensure that this particular one is sustained at least for the long haul? Can we see this campaign of ridding the city of all this chaff at least last up to after Easter? Some are so cynic they don't even expect it to last a week.
Sometimes I get amused. As I was driving in, I was listening to you people having what you are calling a conversation. It had sort of ceased to be one, though. Where is this problem? Do we all agree that Kampala city has a challenge? And indeed, not only Kampala city, you go to Mbarara, you go to Mbale, you go to Iganga, you sort of have the same sort of challenge. All urban areas are having the same challenge. Yes. And to go to what Yusuf is saying, that is the symptom. But what is the cause? And we all agree, all of us, whether it is Yusuf, is Katesh, Lydia, yourself, and myself, that we need to do better as urban areas, because we live there, and many people, because of rural-urban migration, looking for opportunities, people are going to continue migrating from rural areas to urban areas. How are we going to handle this situation so that does not degenerate? Kampala is not the only city in the world. Many of these urban areas have fought with these sort of challenges. Others have done extremely well. They just go next door. Sometimes it's very difficult for us to appreciate that next door, this small country is doing far, far better than us in managing this sort of situation. So, yes, is it simple short term? I am afraid I imagine so, because we've been here before. The person who really tried her best, and to me she's my hero, was Jennifer, because what she was trying to do actually was supposed to be done, and we failed her. I don't think Jennifer left Kampala a satisfied woman. She left very dejected, she left very frustrated, and actually traumatized, because whatever she had tried to do and a small success she had got, she left, and within 1 week we are back to square one, and then we are back wasting public resources. And to me, the problem is not only the vendors. Please, Simon, the problem is the vendors and the buyers, including us. Because for all of us know that if you want tomatoes, go to the market. Do we go to the market? No. We buy them from... Just a couple of days ago, a gentleman was driving a very sleek car. Very, very sleek car.
Please don't say it was a Mercedes.
A little bit of this Toyota, Japan Mercedes. You know, there's also a difference these days in Mercedes. But the point I was making was he was driving a sleek car and put the windows down and started buying pineapples and so on. You know, doing shopping at a traffic light. So, if the vendors did not see business there.
What were you doing driving?
I was. No, I think she was a lady. So the problem is that it's the vendors, but also us, the elite, those who are crying, you know, making all sorts of noise about congestion. They are the ones who encourage it. If, for example, these vendors came to the street and nobody was buying, would they be there? Just imagine that. You came with your tomatoes, with the apples, you had Chitanto, and nobody is buying. If they came with these little fake electronics, which Yusuf is talking about, and there was no market. These guys have come to the Swiss because there's a market. Who are the market? It is you and me. And who are the ones making a noise? It is you and me. So the problem is a bigger one. You need a culture change, and that's what Kigali has actually done. Taking some of the action Kigali has done, let me tell you, it was not easy. They are hard decisions to make. Then eventually it develops into a culture. That somebody, one second, then you can ask. Somebody walking in and he takes mineral water and drops a bottle outside when he's driving. It happens this even on Kampala Road every day. Do you think it's about the vendors? No, it's the culture. All of us are guilty as charged. So we must go back as the Minister Kabanda goes to enforce this and so on. She should know that it's a longer journey. We need a better city in terms of hygiene, in terms of organization. But you also must address the fundamentals. If, for example, the trams were in town, you had trains, you had the buses, where would the border be having business? Where? But you don't have a public transport system. You don't have it, for heaven's sake. This guy is called the Kampala Capital City Authority. What have they done to have a massive public transport system in this country? Katesh and myself, what have we done about it? Zero. So folks must now resort to some sort of transport. And what is the transport? Border. And they are all, once you leave your office block, you are down, you are waiting for border. You are not walking to a stage to jump onto a bus or to a railway station to jump on a train. So we need real money to invest in Kampala and all urban areas, especially the cities. You baptized the other time all these regional. I saw my sister here. She was very excited. Mbale City. Many few years ago when Mbale had been baptized the city. The issue was not baptizing Mbale the name city, but can we get them resources, whether you call it a town, but it has resources to provide service delivery. That is most important.
When we started this conversation, Abdul, there was a unanimous agreement that we should not politicize this debate. But clearly, as you have eloquently put it across, it all comes down to the doorstep of politics. It gets down to the doorstep of leadership, because mindset change and mobilization and appropriation of resources is a function of the politics. And
that's true.
And then I would love to again put it to you as a seasoned politician yourself. When you look at the current political dispensation, the same that was present here when Geneva Musisi came in here and the city cried, but then eventually loaded her, and now we are in the phase they call Wasimo Genze. We are still seeing the same political dispensation that has brought onto us the current situation. Do you hold any hope that anything can be done differently by the same political dispensation to turn the tide of Kampala to where we wish it to be?
I don't want to look at this as a Kampala problem. This is urban problem in the whole country. Whether you're going to Arua, you'll have the same problem. And one of them, we need to start thinking a little bit out of the box. Do we still need to have Kampala as both the administrative city and commercial city, or we need to separate them? For example, if we do separate them, can we treat some of the challenges and even maybe bring urban development to other areas? Because you see, everything now, these Basoga, they want to small little things, they run to Kampala. The Bagisus, these pharaohs, after their circumcision, they run to Kampala. You see, then you have all these Banyankoles, the Katesh, coming all the way with the ghee around themselves, they run to Kampala. No, I didn't say that. So we need really to think about Uganda. It's okay. We can urbanize generally and get opportunities in other areas away from Kampala, whether government opportunities, offices and so on, or whether commercial. In any case, there are businesses that have come here basically because the government is here.
True.
There are companies that have invested in Kampala or around Kampala because there is Kampala is a commercial capital, and there's all the resources with the money, the city with the money is Kampala. So everybody is coming to pick part of that little money. But we don't have to lose out on what Honorable Wanyoto is saying, that this country does not belong to only us who have some money. It belongs even to those who are looking for some money from us.
Tremendous.
We all have the same rights, and therefore we need to plan in a way that we cater for those who have some money, our comfort, but also for the opportunity of those who are looking for money from us to pick some money from us, but in an organized way.
In that organized manner, let's call a short break. Take a breather. When we return, it's the Capital Gang, and thank you very much for your conversations. Welcome back. It's the Capital Gang on this 21st day of February 2026. It's at a period where the religious folk are, for the first time in a long time, We have Ramadan and Lent happening all concurrently. It's actually said by those who watch the stars that the next time this will happen will be in 2189. Abudu, where will you be around then? But that
I hope Jesus is not about to come back.
Well. That said, we've had this conversation around the decongestion of Kampala and trying to create trade order. The conversations still go on, but what's unanimous from this studio is a clean city is necessary for all of us. An orderly city is necessary for all of us. But then how can we do this bearing in mind basic human dignity, bearing in mind equitable conduct and equal treatment of everyone irrespective of their social status under the law. But we are also in the same week where now I think at this point in time we can go into politics 311. How about that? We know that the first runner-up of our presidential election.
I had a small point on the congestion in the city. Just a small point.
Well, proceed.
I wanted to pick issue with there's so much space that we have in Kampala, which looks almost unutilized. I don't know how many golfers are in the city, right? But I'm always itching to have the Kampala golf course turned into a park where, because golfers can go and build a golf course further
Yusuf,
away.
you have a passion for creating trouble. But I think
I don't know how many
the war you are trying to open,
against the vendors,
as my friend, I would kindly beg you.
Because Katuntu said you don't want to focus on those who don't have money. How about those who have money?
Yeah, but you see, they don't have money, but they already have their facility.
Yeah, but
It's there, it is theirs. So you want to say, okay, we deny you, you go away, and we bring others who don't.
Yes,
Really,
let's simply put it this way: you risk being evicted from this studio when you start discussing
all of you guys are golfers.
of evicting golfers.
what if you turn golf course into a park where our children can play? We build playthings for children. Tourism,
but they are there. They are there just across here.
Do you understand?
Katesh, please, I beg that Yusuf will comfortably derail you, and he has.
Katesh, I don't think it's about to justify golfing.
No.
But imagine that all cities have golf clubs all over.
This course is effectively it's the land of
Yeah.
the city.
Okay, but a public park doesn't mean constructing there.
And I think
And people freely walking there.
I think you are out of
sitting
order.
there.
Okay,
doesn't
do
mean
we have a
constructing
deficit of that? Where people walked?
We don't have any.
That golf course has the lanes where people actually
We don't
cross.
have any.
No, people walk there, others come there, sit.
In the golf course.
Are aware of what will hit on their heads. Anyway, that said, we're saying the first runner-up of our last presidential election, president of the National Unity Platform, Robert Kyagulanyi, popularly known as Bobby Wine. Of course, the circumstances around his actual whereabouts still remain fuzzy, but what we know for a fact in the week that we're ending is that he showed up for a summit in Geneva and made some statements to the effect that one, there is nobody at his residence that has now become a military fortress because his family did flee the country because of the insecurity around him. But he also called upon the Western world to sanction President Yoweri Museveni, his son, and everybody that works for them, which I mean by extension would mean people like Honorable Kateshi and Lydia Wanyoto and others. I want to put it to you in a tour de table. Maybe, as politicians, what do you read of that? Is Bobby Wine's current activities as useful as to make any significant change in the issues as we know them here in Uganda, or he's just doing what the letter K does in the word knife? I'll start with you, Lydia.
Yes.
Don't tell me you didn't hear my question. I know it's a bit very overcast here in the studio and it's quite rainy outside. We're asking, I'll send the question to you by writing. I'll just take it now to Katesh. Maybe then afterwards I will let you compose yourself. Katesh.
Well, first of all, I think for anyone to vie for the leadership of this country, the people of Uganda have to decide. It is not any other party or any other government, but you have to go to the people, present yourself, and then the people decide. We have just gone through an election. Yesterday I was talking to some of my friends in India. They called me. They said it's unbelievable how elections ended, and it is as if we did not have an election. Elections have got challenges, and it is
why Abudu is laughing and Lydia, we will find out.
Yes,
but proceed.
it's world over. We have challenges everywhere. At the
Me and Lydia were laughing at each other. We're not laughing at what Kata is saying.
At the constituency level, we all had challenges. What I don't believe in is you going to wherever you go, launch your manifesto, talk about the need for talk about elections when the people of Uganda have decided. Because those people in those capitals are not going to come and vote. They are not registered voters here. Yes, you can take your complaints, but ultimately, I think running away from the people of Uganda to talk up, because I don't know why, if I have been in an election, why wouldn't I come out and speak about my experiences and talk to the people of Uganda, what I have gone through? Why do you have to run to the other capitals to talk about elections?
Because a precedent has been set here. There is a gentleman who is in jail now. How many years? Dr. Kiza Besje, who decided to stay and speak.
I'm talking about elections, where some of the questions that apparently were asked could not be answered. We have 500 plus constituencies. We have members of parliament. How many did your party front? Did you have agents everywhere? In my own constituency, some of the presidential candidates did not have even a single agent. And then the results are declared for the president. Then you say, you won. You were cheated and you won. And you go and you make a statement. I don't think that is proper. The other issues about some of the pockets of violence and issues that happen is something that we can discuss. Again, as a people of Uganda, there are things which we need to do right. There are mistakes which we need to avoid. But largely, I think these elections produced a clear winner, who was our candidate, His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni. Therefore, for you to go to other capitals and call for sanctions against him and make statements, I think it is just abusing the authority of Uganda. If you have a case, you should put it to the public court of Uganda here to say, look, I was in this polling station, my votes were not counted in this polling station, and produce. But you cannot go and make accusations. They have serious economic implications. We have had countries where we have had challenges. The neighboring country here in the north,
South Sudan.
Some of our actions as political players, whether we are in oppositions or in government, can actually result into serious economic and social destabilization, and therefore we must be measured, mature, and be able to handle politics responsibly. But running around, calling for sanctions, claiming you won, you have no results, you don't know the number of constituencies in Uganda, you don't know the candidates you fronted. Some of the candidates, I listened to those who came to Shema to campaign. You are a presidential candidate, and all the message you have has completely no content for the people. And then you expect people to follow you and vote for you. And that was the difference between our candidate and other candidates, particularly the runners-up you are talking about, because I listened to the whole speech. The campaign in Shema was peaceful. He came, he spoke to the people, there was no violence. I listened to the whole speech online. what I had online was also a lot of provocations. People, commenting on TikTok that people are being beaten. They are being tear gassed by police. When actually on the ground there was nothing, because I was in Shema, I was listening, and the whole speech did not have content to convince anyone to believe that, to convince the majority to believe that we need to change, and therefore the results that came out reflected what people were convinced about. And so our president, duly elected, is going to be sworn in, and we should be able to work with him. I'm glad some of the opposition leaders are starting to join, to see the light. They are coming on board, and then we have dialogue to correct some of the mistakes that could have happened as a growing democracy, so that next elections become better and we improve on our democratic practices. That's all I can say. But I do not, and I can never support anyone who goes into the capitals, the Western capitals, to seek support when the authority, our employers here are the voters. You have to come to them here, not the people that surround you in the capitals. Some of them they are not informed. I have been in some dialogue in Europe where people are not informed. The new crop of leaders in some of those countries have no idea about Africa. They don't know. What they know is what they read on social media. The other day I had a game of golf with a gentleman from Ireland, a visiting tourist. He told me, I'm here for a month, but the people in my country were discouraging me to come. The picture of what they have for Uganda and Africa is different. But this is a peaceful country. I have come. You have challenges like we do in other countries. Ugandans need to be aware of that, and we all work towards making our country better.
The same has been done, only that this time it was done successfully by the current president when he was clamoring for power. He sought Western support or support from other parts of the world, not just in terms of support in slogans and giving him platforms to speak, but he sought finances, he sought ammunition, and toppled the sitting government. Why would you have not castigated that, and you're castigating what Bobi Wine seems to be doing? I will just turn to you, Abdul Katuntu, and
I thought you were asking me. I was 2 years old. So.
I knew that's what you'd tell me, so I'll just turn Abdul for him to give us his thoughts around the circumstance, but also bearing in mind that we have seen not just the case of President Museveni, but here we are. President Museveni just this week has met a delegation from warring factions in Sudan. Who would you then say the Sudanese people are coming here to seek our support, yet the real issue should be solved by the Sudanese people? I mean, it's a global village. I think Bobi Wine would be perhaps in faculty to consult and talk to anyone if he wanted to. But let me hear what Abdul has to say about the circumstance. I could be wrong.
First of all, I don't know why anybody should be surprised that the Honorable Kyagulanyi is doing what he has done. I mean, is it the first time? Since he came on the political scene, he has been doing that. Even us, when we are still in the Forum for Democratic Change, we are doing that. Even before us, when we were before us in FDC, the Uganda People's Congress, your brother Ocheno was in the United Kingdom doing exactly this. And some of those pursuits really managed to change the political terrain around here. For example, the return to multi-party politics was not largely homegrown. Forget about the referendum. The referendum was just to answer the legal technicalities of doing it, because the Constitution had said to change the political system, you need a referendum. So in the third world, many countries think the political space is not as available as it is, so they run to the third world. Unfortunately, I must emphasize unfortunate. And to that extent, I agree with Katesh. Then two, there is this arrogance of the Western world that actually they can make things change in the third world country. And actually that also happens, unfortunately. They bully, they do use sanctions, and they do all sorts of things. And African leaders sometimes do concede to them. So if you are in a position like a Kyagulanyi is in now, you think that is one of the options, like many other leaders thought so. Even Dr. Besigye is used to move all over the world doing the same. And we were doing the same, all of us. So I don't want us to be so much shocked. But again, like I said when we were having the earlier conversation, I don't want to look at symptoms. Where is the problem? Can you address the problem? What is it that has taken Kyagulanyi to, where was he again? Geneva? What is it that has taken him there? And two, he may have not had the intellectual of putting the issues, but do those issues exist or not? And if they do, how do we put them on table and we discuss them as Ugandans, like Katesh Ndidi is saying? One of them is, and to the extent I agree with what many people have been saying, that we need to have a very honest conversation about the challenges facing this country and to have the courage to handle them ourselves, other than thinking that you'll go to Belgium and Belgium will sort out this mess for you. That mess is created by Katesh and myself and Lydia here. We need to sort that out. During the last election, were there challenges, Katesh? They were. Do we have an opportunity to address those challenges? Do we have the courage, the will to address the challenges such that we have a better election tomorrow? Do we have it? All the players, all the stakeholders, whether government, whether those who face those challenges. Because the biggest player now, stakeholder, is the person who won the elections. If he's saying, okay, I am open to talks, the people who face the challenges now, are they ready to talk to him? Or to them, talking to him is sacrilege? So how do you say, well, we'll never talk to him, or we talk to him on our own terms, but we are going to run to Geneva? Does that make sense? So there are things, for example, when I see business in parliament, when you've been elected and you're in parliament and you are just ended an election, the first business should be, how do we put our heads together as members of parliament to address challenges that took place during elections? Honestly, are they willing to discuss as government and opposition? Put up a committee, discuss to whoever is responsible, whether the president, whether the army, whether the electoral commission, come up with a report. Because to me, I look at parliament as the representative of the people. Never mind others don't look at it at so. They imagine it being in a civil society or the representative of the people. Or being on social media, you are the to me, I think once you're in parliament, that is a forum. Is that forum ready to discuss issues that affected the elections? I'll give you an example. In 2001, they put up a committee. It was headed by then a member of my committee, actually the Honorable Fred Ruhindi. And he did a very good job. I hope guys can look at his report. Because Fred Ruhindi made the Fred Ruhindi committee really did a thorough job, and there is a report there which literally addressed each and every challenge, including proposing legal reforms. And those legal reforms, some of them happened. I want to tell you, Simon, when you look at the law as it is now, we have one of the best electoral laws in this country. The law as it is now. Sure. But the problem is do folks or go by the law, or to them the law is nothing? But as Parliament, they went ahead and proposed reforms, which reforms were actually enacted into legislation. So are we ready to address them? Or do we think that when you run to Geneva, you run to Brussels, you run to London, then you have a better opportunity to change the situation here? It could be yes and no. In countries like Kenya, because of their relationship with the Western world, and because of their interest also, I had that conversation, I think, with this youth some time back, that the Western world interest in Kenya is far, far bigger than the interest in Uganda, for many reasons. Where it is situated at a water body, international water body, but also the Kenyan economy. You know, it is a satellite economy. Areas like agriculture are purely, Western world control. Those huge farms you see. Kenya tourism, the entire tourism sector is purely, Tel Aviv and other areas. And so those guys have, a deeper interest in the Kenyan economy than in Uganda. What strategic interest does the Western world have in Uganda, such that they are ready to do what they can do to Kenya? When Kenya was having this turbulence, they all came, say, guys, come. You saw Kibaki, you saw Raila, let their souls rest in peace, come together. Everybody was running from Denmark to London and to Sweden to make sure that they get these guys on the table to talk honestly. And the country that had generated almost to a Somalia level, they averted a bigger crisis than that. So do you think Uganda as it is, these Western world have got that interest that they run around because Yusuf is punching Katesh and so on? Maybe not. So Ugandans must know that we need to address this, but there should be goodwill on both sides, both on government and both on the opposition. This arrogance on both sides will not help this country. It will not. I am only not happy with the other institutions. Like, I don't think the religious groups are doing more. They should do more. They are doing far, far less. I don't see the elders that have gone through turbulences in the past are doing more. They should be doing far, far more than what it is happening. Because I agree with Katesh, this democracy, it can't be achieved in 1 week. We have already sorted out, but things will be okay tomorrow. Forget it. It's going to take a little bit of turns around, and we are going to hit each other. The late Mwanga used to say, "Ensie Gulamirambo," it will be part of it, and so on as we go on to make this country better. Maybe that's what the Western world went through, and we have no choice. We may not walk the long way because there is history to learn from, but I think we have a journey to walk, and we need to walk that journey now.
I'll turn to the scholar in Yusuf and try to find out, really, what is their precedence, in the past? Or
can I add on something? I asked the question. I said the religious leaders, the elders. Can I add on the list? The scholars.
We are glad you haven't yet come down to journalists.
Oh, and the media. These days you've reduced yourself to social media. You are no longer.
You should see what's happening on social media. All experts at moderation are there. Kassiate is talking to Omar. Come here and do it in the same ones.
Okay, the point is okay.
The same one. Then tomorrow they are saying the police should investigate that. The experts in police, the experts in aviation,
yes.
The experts in that. Yusuf, the expert in academia.
I guess they are trying to protect me from
because that is your playground. Now, Yusuf, indeed, like the two politicians have put it to us, it doesn't seem to make sense to have a situation here in Uganda and you think that adjudication will be done by going to appeal to sentiments of people who for the most part may not care about us. But maybe they care.
Yeah.
We have seen situations like Venezuela where a president was picked from home and has been taken to face justice, and we see these conversations going on even within.
Did they care because of the situation in Venezuela?
That's what I'm putting to you. So tell us,
all the strategic interests of the U.S. in Venezuela.
We should begin here. See, we are at a talking platform. Right here, we are talking, and we think everything can be resolved by talking, which is a beautiful thing. But are the key stakeholders, like the winners of this election, are they really interested in talking? Are they the talking type? You start by the CDF, for example, who has actually proudly spoken about his attack on the wife of the leading opposition candidate. Is he really interested in talking? Simon, you're following social media right now. If you follow social media, the commander of the defense forces in this country, who is a very powerful stakeholder, ever since this election ended, he has gone on and on, threatening to arrest, to execute, to kill, to cut off the balls of the leading opposition person. Does that look like to you that the core stakeholder is interested in talking? So when we sit here, because it's a talking platform, we sound nice. We need to have a conversation, we need to do this. But where the people who seem to be in more powerful positions than we are, well, me, I'm actually nobody. These are MPs, and this is for my MP.
Not yet. Not yet. He's a current member of parliament.
Are they really interested in talking? Because you see, if Mhozi speaks and his father can't say, you can't do that, it follows directly that perhaps Mhozi is speaking the voice of his father. And often in his tweet he says, the only person who can stop me is my father, Mzee. So when you come here and we say, Bobi Wine should have stuck here and
I don't care what social media says. Let me interject. When Museveni replies to Mhozi, he possibly also puts it on Twitter. They may possibly talk as the adult in the room.
How would we know? How do we know as a public? How do we know? Because silence for us translates into endorsement. Anyways, so that's the first challenge we have. Every time we speak about conversation, talking, we make it look like the other side is refusing to talk. That this side is with the open arms saying, can you come to the talking table, because there are actual challenges. You see, so that's the first point I want to make. But somehow I want to speak about the dilemma of the activist. When you're a guy like Bobi Wine, when you're a guy like Akiza Besigye, when you're Museveni, this is a perennial dilemma for the African activist, because the African activist fully understands that the core decision makers in this country are not really the voters. No, the people who impose leaders on us are often foreign. I've said, Simon, that in this country we don't have a history of changing our leaders on our own. It has never happened. All our leaders have changed by external hands. We didn't kick out Yoweri Museveni. Somebody was attending a conference in Singapore, and they told him he may not return home, which means they had actually effectively overthrown him. Tanzania had to come in here under the auspices of the CIA. Museveni was almost giving up before the Israelis threw him weapons. We have never in our history been able to overthrow leaders on our own. So if a man...
Alice Obote you did.
We did. 1986.
1985.
We did not.
That one you did.
But then the power that brings in the man who has held on to us for the last 40 years, that is not us.
That is 86.
So here's the point I'm making, that the activist finds himself in that dilemma. Do I appeal to these emasculated, helpless voters like myself? Or should I go to those who have actually changed governments in this place? And then they have to go. They know it is a bad thing. Because you see, if the Americans say they are coming to pick Museveni from State House and take him to New York, I'll be one of those joining Museveni's forces to say, no, you're not taking our man. This man is our problem. We need to deal with it here. So it is a bad thing, but the activist, the political struggler, finds himself in that dilemma. Should I stay here and wait for my capture as the son of the president is threatening? Or I need to run to those who have actually had power to change things? And in that some spirit, I think Honorable Katuntu is not being fair to comparing Kenya and Uganda. Mzungu have different interests. Mzungu have different interests in these different places.
Correct.
Here, we have the biggest refugee community in this country. We have open borders. Mzungu are very interested in that. We we produce large amounts of coffee. Mzungu are interested in that. We have a huge. Mzungu are very interested in so many things.
We fight their proxy wars.
In fact, one of my problems, we fight their proxy wars. We are doing business in Somalia, even with the first one threatened. If you are hiding, said the American ambassador, if you're hiding Bobi Wine, we're going to stop helping in Somalia.
And so you think Mzungu would be more interested in talking to Bobi Wine as opposed to
No. This is Bobi Wine's dilemma. That we're doing business in South Sudan. The other man almost fell, but we said, can you go please help our man? We're in Central African Republic, we are in Afghanistan, so we're all over doing business for Mzungu. So this is the problem with that Bobi Wine faces too. Museveni's friends will not sanction him. Because you see, if you have the best example of a man who has served Mzungu interest on the African continent, you look no further than this country. He is the quintessential example of a colonial caretaker. Yoweri Museveni has properly taken over this country. We have nothing in this country. We have nothing. Everything that is of value belongs to Mzungu. You see, through the agents, everything belongs to Mzungu. So, for that, Mzungu have major interests in Uganda, and they love Yoweri Museveni. This is why I really think Bobi Wine is
I think we can't
between a rock and a hard place.
It's exactly listen, 25 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm afraid, Yusuf, we've got to put a close to this, take a short break. When we return, we continue with the conversation. Thank you. Welcome back. It's the Capital Gang, and coffee in the studio is served by our very good friends. Hey, where is Lydia? The last time I checked, she was right next to me. Well, Star Cafe, thank you very much for the wonderful coffee, and it's usually served in yellow cups. Today is a bit of a change. I see white cups. I don't know why. But yes, Yusuf, I'll allow you the opportunity to conclude on your point. Sorry for the...
I was finishing on the point of the comparison between Kenya and Uganda that Honorable Katuntu is making. And I think in both places, Mzungu are interested in the status quo. Now, Kenya offers them the package that it has offered them. So Kenya went through a moment of violence, and Kenya started reforming itself democratically. So they allowed, they love the fact that, you know, it has gone through that moment. It is reforming itself democratically. So people opposed to each other in Kenya respect each other because they have what you call mutually assured destruction. They have mutual respect. The Odinga camp, Leto Odinga camp, the other camp, they have mutual respect for each other. Now here, if you're talking about talking, you know, there's absolutely zero respect that the NRM has people in the opposition because they can buy us off, they can jail us, they can do whatever they want without consequence.
And the other way around?
We despise them for their refusal to respect us. You see, but you see, the difference for them, they are in the one who has power determines the pace of the conversation. The one who has power calls the shots. To whom much is given, much is expected. So this is the problem that here we are not mutually respectful because we don't have mutually assured destruction. Because on the other side, they know we'll throw in jail without consequence. 2 years and counting in jail. The Edim Tours, all of them are in jail and nothing happens. You see, and so it's in that context that the CDF can't even brag about cutting off somebody's balls, and there's no consequence. Do you see, Simon? So that's the point I'm trying to build, that the comparison is fair, but you need to take care of Kenya's special history, that Kenya went through a moment of violence that gave them mutual respect for each other. We had that moment in 1986 after we went through a moment of violence. Now I don't know if the people in government are quoting that we go through that moment so that they start to be respectful toward those who oppose them. Because you have to respect them, because you see, once you cross the Rubicon, once you cross the Rubicon, there will be fire, and once this house catches fire, all of us, it will be indiscriminate, all of us will be cooked, and the fire will break out. Simon,
I'll turn to you, Lydia, and also put to you the same question I put to everyone around the table on what the end game, in your view, could be with someone that loses an election here. Well, for reasons that we all know, by personal safety and the fact that really he cannot now organize or mobilize and grow his political party in the circumstances, goes into exile. And from there, he's making statements and appealing to Western powers to do, among other things, sanction the current regime and some of its workers. Does it really have an end game that is plausible that would bring any change to our circumstances?
You see, I was thinking about that question, but it has a history from where we are coming from. We went multi-party in 2005 after the referendum, and that's why you hear about contestations that are seemingly in low political party contestation, but in reality we are really still individuals, and whether or not multi-party in Uganda will grow is a debate for another day, despite the efforts of government and parliament. This is Katesha and Katuntu. They've tried to put funding, like it was a gap for political parties to have capacity to grow, because you cannot run a political party without resources. But even with that, there are still challenges. Maybe even I've had cries about amending the legislation around funding political parties, so that you also fund those who do not have members of parliament, so that they grow and also begin posting capacity for having members of parliament. So that's one. The second one, we can compare our East African countries with anything else but not politics. There is a way we are far from the practices that are happening everywhere, because of our history coming from a complete breakdown of the state and rebuilding again from 1986. We are quite different from countries like Kenya, that yes, they had a strong rule in the days of Moi after Kenyatta, but when KANU split, they built new young forces that were economically strong. Like even you see what is happening now. The groupings of between the 47 counties seem to be having what you would call balance of terror, despite the tear gas. Find that these are strong. Their parliament has groupings. You cannot have a majority. But once you have a government like ours that has a majority, and politics is about the majority, doesn't matter the quality of the majority, it is very difficult to have a voice that can organize without being stifling, until maybe you get another strong team that can split. Remember, it was this in 2000 and actually around 2005 when we went into towards the 2005 2008, but coming from 2001 that took us 2005. Then we had a split of reform agenda that finally went into FDC. That was a semblance of a strong alternative voice to government. But if you look at the founders, they are also strong people who had been members of parliament. And you can now see what has happened, because the splitting affects the strength, but also the resources. Because the resources, the way our legislation is, you must be a member of parliament or the strength of members of parliament. So I think that Uganda is where Kenya was during the strong days of Moi. That's what I can tell you. So when you talk about, because most of these people who were in Kenya, some of them were either in prison or they were, because of lack of level of debate or even appreciation, they were either in exile or in prison. How many years was really Odinga in prison? And so many other people of his life. But he was the face of opposition, or growing opposition, or the alternative government in Kenya. And up to now, they have not succeeded taking State House, despite the handshakes and the negotiations. Why they do that most often and they are able to meet and shake hands and run to the next election is because of the way their economic base is also structured. Many of them have businesses. It's a stronger economy.
No, they have stake.
They have a strong economy than Uganda, but their stronger economy is clothed into indigenous politicians, strong history of politicians, either through the family, strong founding fathers of families, all the business. They have a strong economy because of the Mombasa port, tourism, and because over years they have a stake. Actually, some of them who are in opposition, they share businesses. So there is so much they can fight. They stop somewhere and say, come and we talk, because it is going to affect their businesses. If you look at Northeastern and Mandela area, where mostly the Somalis come from, and the Wajir, where most of them come, the business hub comes from. And in Nairobi, they are from. They have an area where they have dominated. You cannot cause chaos to even get there. Tear gas. They will say, stop, let's talk. So you have areas which have spots for violence, but you see immediately there are solutions. People start going to State House to negotiate, so that the stability in Nairobi and other areas, to ensure that businesses thrive and that they have a big stake in the economy of the country. That day we start seeing Ugandans having a very big stake in the country's economy, in terms of even numbers and relatively spread out. If you look at the map of the country, we'll begin seeing people preferring negotiations for governance than conflict, or than having activists, or what you do call activists, or what you do call extremists, who have nothing to lose. So the biggest efforts now that we should have is that let's struggle so much to ensure that our country have people that have a stake when they have something to lose, other than their anger and just their hands. Because if you have a stake in the economy of the country, you cannot wish to destroy it. But if you have nothing, when you go and find Kateshi's hotel or Katuntu's bus company, you will not hesitate to touch it.
Wait, Katuntu has a bus company?
You will not hesitate to touch it. Or useful the hotel in town, or Chikubo, or shopping mall. I am giving vivid examples. We must create a situation, and I don't know how we are going to do it, because our population is also skewed.
But where are the extremists?
If you look at the population census of 2024, which is about a year or two ago, about 75% of our country's population are below the age of 35. So it must be deliberate and intentional for our government to find opportunities for this crop of the population to have a stake in the economy and the governance of the country. They should not feel hopeless. They shouldn't feel hate, and because they can easily use emotions and that energy to be more destructive. We must find a way of using that energy to be progressive than to be destructive. When you look at what they are calling the skilling centers and industrial park, I come from Mbali, so we have an industrial park in Mbali, and we also have a skilling center like all other centers. I think that is the model that we should be looking at the country, but do more, which are more attractive, maybe improve on the IT, the cost of IT, so that these people are aligned to progressive energy, than making them feel idle or not feel that they are part, or the inclusivity campaign of being part and parcel of the economy of the country, but also the governance of the country. So we have a serious white elephant in the room to solve. And if you are talking about a leader, how did he become a leader? He was able to attract many Ugandans who do not feel that they are included in any matters of the country. These are people that are angry, they are bitter. You must draw to the history of why are they angry, but they can go to do anything. So that, and we now question the anger and the extremism, but there is a history to it. So there must be an intentional and deliberate plan for us to include that category of the population. And it can start with us, we've discussed this morning. That 2 million of 1.5 million Kampala population that comes to the streets or the verandas in the morning and find where they can go and stay in the evening or wait for the night to go and come back and survive. The moment they get hardened and they begin seeing them and us, that's where you are going to have a challenge, and not many of them can afford the tickets to fly out of the country and speak online from positions of security or when they have been secured, because not everybody can run away from Uganda. So those who stay will be like this rat which you have not, the cat you have not provided before a space to, you are pushing on the wall. They can now fight back and say, this is our country, we cannot run away from here, let's face each other. So I thought that we should discuss more those that stay in Uganda after an election and they've lost and they feel that the election was not free and fair, or they have been excluded, than even those who are out are fewer than those who feel the same and cannot leave the country.
Tremendous. It's exactly 10 minutes at the top of the hour. We should be closing this at the top of the hour. So I'll allow in a 2 Detabra again for us to make our last submissions on this issue and conclude. If there is anyone that may want to also just shed some little bit of political inclusion of a subject matter in the week that we're just concluding, we saw a former National Unity Platform member of parliament who I think lost in this round of elections, quickly has now been assumed into the NRM4, and he really is all out to punish the people of his constituency that chose deliberately.
Did you say it's a National Unity Platform?
Pardon me, I stand guide. I think it is FDC. We're talking about the Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi.
Forum for Democratic Change.
You certainly would know a lot better than me on that one, and I take your guidance.
No, actually, many things I would. I mean about FDC.
Oh, I thought you wanted to guide him on many
things. You're lucky this is late and Ramadan wrapped in one.
He's throwing jabs like he's not fasting. In fight mode.
That's me and Simon.
So I'll start with my left side in honor of my friend Honorable Kateshi. Let's take our concluding remarks.
Thank you very much. First of all, on the subject of the new coach in the NRM, I think we welcome him, and he's a very good addition. He's a very seasoned lawyer. He has taught many people. I think he adds value, but he also is someone who has done a lot of development. So I have been seeing people bashing him. I fail to understand. I fail to understand some of these political parties. Politics it's about adding and multiplication. If you don't believe in adding and multiplication, and every time a move like that happens, you are lamenting, bashing someone. That's how
division.
Yeah,
that's how some of these political parties have completely gone down. And at the end of the day, they blame the party, the NRM. But it's simply because our president has actually embraced dialogue, and he has made efforts to make sure that he reaches out to some of the people. That's why we have ministers in his cabinet who are leaders of the other parties, and that one it makes our work much easier. So parties, people who are bashing him, condemning him, should actually be making efforts to entice the likes of leaders to join them, and others. I'm saying, giving an example.
My friend, Lydia has just arrived at the table where the serving is. You're telling us people are still being
I'm saying they should be focusing on enticing us.
She has been at the table though.
So that's what I can say. But generally, in a final, we've been talking about the presidential elections, etc. The general mood after elections, Simon, is that people are actually stressed, especially people who have been involved in the campaigns and people who have lost. Apart from people who are seasoned like the Katuntus here, who know how to
recover
quickly, we actually have cases that need counseling. Some of our colleagues in Parliament
But maybe Katuntu does, because he has never lost in his entire life, except
talking to them. So I want to agree with
time, only 25.
I want to agree with Katuntu that maybe it's high time as the 11th Parliament, before we conclude our session, we need to have some agenda to discuss about the experiences, but also maybe make an effort to reach out to some of our people.
Steam off.
At our different levels, because I know some of our colleagues who are actually sick. We have lost an MP. There is a contestant who recently was number 3 in the election. He collapsed. So elections are becoming an issue, and people need to understand.
It's a life and death issue.
You go in.
So what are you saying about Nsibambi?
You lose the primary.
No, he had moved out from Nsibambi. He was just concluding, saying a matter of personal concern.
Yes. So if you see even this is my friend here, the doctor. He's a doctor. He's talking, but I'm sure he's at pain. He's at pain because maybe what he expected is not what came out. So how do we talk to these people who are not even willing to actually sit and dialogue?
You want to say useful needs counseling?
Well, Abdu, let's conclude. Thank you,
I don't think he has accepted the outcome
of the what? Of the presidential
election? Yes, because I've read his pieces.
There was no outcome for me. This election was predicted. Predicted.
He doesn't need counseling.
A lot.
He's one of those who might.
Abdu Katuntu, please come in.
For quite a long time, I've been thinking about this country, and I'm like, okay, opposition in Uganda, or people having grievances. I think it's high time we started interrogating that. Do we have really opposition? Because once you talk about opposition, you're talking about, one, ideological differences, different strategies, or you are having a certain group of folks who really have grievances against government, and they have been baptized opposition. I think you researchers, you need to go beyond, this social media rantings and so on, and examine it. And that can only give you a way forward. Because when you look at Kenya, every 5 years you've got new infrastructure, political infrastructure, what we call special purpose vehicles, political vehicles. And guys who are here, they are running this side, and then that becomes opposition.
But the actors are the same.
The same, 100%. They only change addresses. And the one address is now in government, then the other address in opposition. And then thereafter, their politics is different. It's not the politics like ours here. They fight, but there's the economy in it and so on. So what we are having really, in my view today, that what is this opposition which fundamentally differs from the government on either ideology, economic strategy, what is it? Then you can define that is opposition, this is government. Or you have bunches of fellow this side and government, and another bunch, they are there having grievances. And let me give you an example. Maybe you started this too late as we conclude, because I think it's quite important. I was looking at some posting, I think yesterday. There is a certain gentleman crying. He was on part of the President Museveni campaign team in Kampala. I don't know whether you've watched him.
Yes, the one who's now claimed to have been evicted as a vendor.
Yes, and you see his cries. And the way he has started talking, tomorrow you will say it's opposition.
He actually said it in the clip. He said, I don't know if anyone would ever convince me to support the movement.
So he's turned opposition within one incident. But it is a grievance. If, for example, government was addressed that grievance, would you have him the other day still as opposition? And that is, there are many folks around whether at the high level, and that's where you come to my brother, the Svambis and other people, and sometimes even myself. I had, I was one of the extreme one at some point, but later on we were like, the folks I was with, what is the agenda? And then we ended up splitting. And so on. So government and opposition, because I'm having a problem with using this word opposition, but those who are now opposed to government should really find a solution to address the grievances. And then tomorrow you may have a situation like in Kenya, no hatred, but differences, interests, and politics of interest is what everybody should be thinking about, not these identities.
Thank you very much. Abdu, you couldn't have stated it more clearly. We come to the end of the program. It's exactly midday. Thank you for listening through. Capital FM continues to play you the best of music. We will meet same time, same place next week. God bless.